Hi, I'm Bob Weeks. Kansans are proud of their schools, often citing NAEP scores as you can see in this material from the Kansas Association of School Boards. NAEP is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, a test that is the same in all states. So let's examine Kansas scores, comparing how Kansas does against the nation and also the state of Texas, as Kansas often compares itself to Texas. I've gathered NAEP scores and created an interactive visualization that you can use on my site, The Voice for Liberty, at wichitaliberty.org. Here I'm showing NAEP scores for math and reading and for grades 4 and 8. This is the data that NAEP makes available. The top row shows data for all students. And you can see the Kansas score is higher than the national and Texas scores, except for 8th grade math, where Kansas and Texas had the same score. So based on this, it looks like Kansas does well, comparatively. But before making conclusions, we ought to look at subgroups of the data to see if there are other stories hidden in this data. So here's the same data for Hispanic students. For grade 4 math, Kansas and Texas had the same score. For grade 8 math and grade 4 reading, Texas has higher scores, and for grade 8 reading, Kansas and Texas are the same. Or consider black students. In all 4 instances, Texas scores are higher than Kansas. And for reading, Kansas is behind or tied with national scores. Now consider white students alone. In all 4 instances, Texas scores are higher than Kansas. And for reading, Kansas is either lower than or tied with the national scores. So what's happening here? How can it be true that Kansas has the best scores when considering all students, and how can it also be true that Texas black students score higher than Kansas black students, Texas Hispanic students score higher than Kansas Hispanic students, and Texas white students score higher than Kansas white students? The answer is Simpsons' paradox, where a trend that appears in subgroups of data disappears when data is aggregated. We saw that when looking at ethnic subgroups, Texas generally has the highest scores. But when looking at aggregated data, the situation flips and Kansas has the higher scores. The reason for this is that Texas has a much lower proportion of white students than has Kansas, and white students as a group score higher than blacks and Hispanics. So when you hear that Kansas has high NAEP scores compared to other states, you know that there are other considerations. Let me ask you this. Have you heard about this from Kansas school education leaders? I'm Bob Weeks. You could learn more about this and other topics at The Voice for Liberty at wichitaliberty.org. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos, follow on Google+, and like us on Facebook.